Welcome to pattern making class. So today we are working on copying a no side seam legging. I have taken a long piece of paper and folded it on the grain line that I drew all the way up and down. So this is the fold, and over here are the two pieces of paper that I folded out, front and back. I have taken the garment, the no side seam legging, and I've turned it right side in so that we see the wrong side on the outside. I see the seam allowance here. I see hem allowance down over here. I see the seam allowance here from my front rise and my front and back waist. And I've arranged this so this is about 1/8 of an inch away from my fold line. Because if you lay your fabric totally flat and smush it over, it does actually go up against it there. And we do have the fold to consider. I've laid out the inseam of the legging nice and flat, and this side seam about 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 away from the edge. Also too, this is the back leg, this is the front leg. And then I have the front rise laid out, and the back rise is right underneath it. Now I'm going to take a tracing wheel. Here's two different types, and this is my preference to get through all the layers. This doesn't get through the layers as easily. But if you don't have a tracing wheel, you can use a push pin. So I'm going to take the tracing wheel, and I see my front rise, which is my crotch seam, and I'm going to trace through right on the stitch line. I'm going to lift, trace through right there on that curved seam. Okay, now this doesn't go all the way to the top, but I'd sure like it to. So I think I'll just continue and make another line so we can see that it goes to the top there. Now I need to do the whole rest of my inseam. So I'm going to use my tracing wheel right on my stitch line. And here you can see this legging is worn out. The elastin has worn out on the inseam, which is quite common. So we're right on the stitch line that is closest to the fabric portion. You can look underneath and make sure that looks good. Use one of these down the whole table. I don't care about this table, it's a work table. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to use the push pin. Just push through right on that stitch line instead. That's going to also give me the lines that I'm looking for. Since I have my front waist here, I'm going to go ahead and trace off the top edge of my front waist. I'm also going to take my pencil, trace off the top edge of my back waist. And while I have this all set up here, I'm going to mark right here where my back is. Okay, so I've traced off the whole front. Let's make sure, let's check underneath. We can see, yep, I can see those lines. Down here at the bottom, I can just go ahead and take my ruler and trace off my bottom hem. This looks good. Let's go ahead and remove our weights. And I can see, here are some of the lines that I've drawn. We can see our inseam. And we'll go back with the ruler and we'll true it up. But I just want to capture the lines, the little holes that I see right now. to make my style lines. And that looks really good. Here's the whole front, from the ankle to the inseam, up to my crotch, my front rise, up to my front waist, connecting with my back waist. Okay, now we can go ahead and start to true this up, and we'll add the back on after we do a little bit of truing. There's our front rise, and I'm going to bring this up because I'm going to eliminate the yoke. I'm going to change this design, since I'm copying it, by eliminating that front yoke. Here's the back waist. Let's go ahead and connect that. Even though we know this is the front, we're going to true some of the back on here. And then we see where the start of our back waist was going, crotch line is going to be as well. Now we're going to do our inseam. We're truing up our inseam. We already had captured our lines with pencil, but we hadn't put a ruler, and so now we're going to true it with the ruler, make sure it's perfect, get rid of any points, connect this. Here we are at the ankle. And I can go ahead and add on a hem. I'm going to add 3/4. And because this is a knit, we're going to add 3/8 of an inch to the inseam for seam allowance. And when you sew a knit, quite often we're sewing with an overlock machine. The seam is 1/4 and the knife cuts off 1/8 of an inch. That's why we start with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Here's our front rise. And we're truing up the front, and then we're going to finish up with our back rise. And this is a copy. And it's a copy that I've modified by eliminating that yoke seam. Up here at the top, I could choose what kind of elastic I want to put in. I think I would put in perhaps 1 inch elastic. So I'm going to go up 1 1/8 for the top of my waist. And here's the back, which I'm just overlaying right on top of it. Okay, so for us, in order for us to do the rest of the back, we need to cut out our inseam of our leg, I'm also going to cut out my hem in a minute. But we have to definitely cut out the inseam. Here's that back waist. Let's go ahead and cut a little bit of that. And then right here, right at the crotch seam, we're going to cut that. But then now we're going to go ahead and separate them because the front and back from the crotch up are very different. So we've cut out our front rise, and I cut out, remember, the back waist. Well, now I cut the back waist with 2 pieces, but now I'm going to cut the front 1 piece, cutting off that back section. Okay, but keep this. We're going to open up your legging. You can see where we're going to start the back rise from. And we've kept this piece that we cut off here like so. Okay. And I'm going to transfer this line right here to the back. That's where the back rise starts, including the seam allowance. So we can draw that in right away to show ourselves we already have that there. I'm going to stop the video and we're going to continue on with the back rise in our next video.